Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 108 of Screenweens. Sponsored by viewers like you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Philip, if you're still listening. I don't know if he is. He hasn't mentioned any recent episodes.
I have a couple of coworkers that have been
Really?
tuning in, yeah.
Oh, nice. Hello.
Somebody listened to part of our Night of the Comet one because he's like, I've seen that movie. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty decent, pretty good.
Yeah.
Today we're talking about Election, not the Matthew Broderick one, and Election 2.
Or also known over here as
Triad
Election. Or you can go with its like direct translation, which is like Dark Knight. So it's,
Dark Knight Returns.
It's like... It was something that I'm like, wow, Election isn't even close to this. But, yeah, it doesn't matter. We'll call it Election for the sake of convenience.
Yeah. I guess Triad Election works because it does. I think it does work like as its own film.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think either one, like, you could just watch it by itself.
Yeah,
you get some stuff, but I don't think I think it is different enough and removed from the other one enough that you could watch it as its own thing.
You could. Although I'd probably just recommend watching the first one first in most cases.
Yeah.
But yeah, before that, how was your week?
My week was alright. It was my birthday 2 days ago.
What did you do for that?
I worked all day because I don't like my birthday.
Yeah.
I have some trauma from a few years ago that I just don't like to think about that happened on my birthday, so I try to just ignore it. So I worked like an 8-hour shift. And then I got home and we watched Jet Li's The One, which is a movie that I've talked about on the podcast before, and I've talked to you before about it. It's so fucking dumb, but it's so fun.
Yeah.
It's very, very engaging, and I have a ton of fun with it. I watched it twice in a row last year, so I'm like, you know what? We gotta watch it. Yeah. And everyone else seemed to enjoy it, too. Hinata, really enjoyed it, which was surprising.
Yeah.
Mostly when I find, me and Hinata share a lot of the same tastes, but when there's something that's dumb that I like, she will most likely not like it, which is fair. But this one she did. I'm like, huh.
Okay.
We also watched Free Guy.
Yeah, I got invited to go see that this week by my friend Matt, and I looked and I saw it was that Ryan Reynolds movie, and I was like, I think I'll pass. He really likes Ryan Reynolds. I
do not.
I don't have any.
I don't have any
dislike for him, but it's just like
I don't like
it's the same.
Yeah, I don't. And if you I like. And I'm not going to fault anyone for liking Ryan Reynolds because I like The Rock fine. And The Rock does the same thing. He does the same performance.
Jack Black for me.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think Jack Black can have a lot more.
But a lot of his roles are the same, and I eat that shit up.
Yeah, no. And it's fine to like someone's shtick. I just don't like Ryan Reynolds' main shtick. I thought it was fine in Deadpool. I enjoyed the Deadpool movies fine. But Free Guy was just like, hey, it's the same thing.
Yeah. But
significantly worse. It is really bad. There are a couple interesting ideas, but mostly really bad.
Yeah, as I kind of assumed. I think I'm going to reserve my first time back into a theater for Candyman, which comes out in 10 days.
Yeah. My coworker might be renting out a theater. Ooh. So I'm like, whoa!
Yeah, that'd be
They were like, hey, do you want to go if I do this? I'm like, yeah! I'm so excited for Candyman.
I know, so am I. It's going to be so good, hopefully.
I really like the original Candyman, but it's not something I'm in love with. But I don't know, this one looks good. And I like Peele's stuff, and I know he's just producing it, but it's definitely, if he's putting his name on it, I'm like, okay. That means, I don't know. There are producers like Sam Raimi that are just like, yeah, give me some money. But I feel like Jordan Peele,
he's
wants
early
to
enough
put a little
into his career where he still probably has some integrity left. So,
yeah. And I've heard really good things about Nia DaCosta as a director. I haven't seen her movie. I think it's called Little Woods yet, but I'm excited. And the trailer looks pretty good.
Plus, it's got Tony Todd in it.
It's got Tony Todd. You think Ted Raimi's coming back?
Probably not. But it'd be a cute little reference.
He's like in the bag. He's a janitor. I wonder what Ted Raimi's even up to these days.
This is probably still character acting.
He's going to be in Doctor Strange too.
Oh, most definitely.
We rewatched Doctor Strange. Not good.
Yeah.
I remember enjoying it in the theater, but like rewatching it.
The main thing
Story
I
sucks.
enjoy about that movie is probably like the last 20 minutes or so I thought were pretty decent. And that was mostly just the spectacle of it.
Yeah.
And I like the Dormammu!
Yeah.
I like that part.
I think it's nice to see a climax that's not just the same thing. This one's just like, I'm going to annoy my opponent into submission.
Yeah.
There are some nice like visual effects in that movie. There's some cool things. Like there's that shot in the trailer where he's like falling through the city and the city folds and stuff. Like that's cool. But it's just like really, really like lazy writing to get to these action sequences.
Yeah.
And I forgot like, I remember everyone really loving Wong when the movie came out. I rewatched it. He's in like 3 scenes. Yeah. He's like barely in the movie. And that's like everyone in the movie besides Doctor Strange.
I feel like probably most people are just carrying the association from like Infinity War and stuff like that with his character.
But like everyone besides Doctor Strange is barely in the movie. Mads Mikkelsen, his character's barely in the movie. Even the Ancient One, she's like barely around most of the time.
Yeah, and they really don't have like a whole lot that makes them stand out. Like I like a lot of the actors, but like just the characterization for them all is like super thin and they just come off as super stiff.
Yeah, and they're supposed to be like, oh, ancient and covered in mysticism, as in like, so that just means they don't do anything. They just sit around and be like, I'm wise for the vast majority of it. And then be like, no, all is lost. And I'm just like, yeah, but mostly didn't enjoy it, I did really like it when I saw it in the theater, but it's probably like spectacle because I'm like, whoa, this looks really cool. And it looks different from the MCU movies and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was at the point when they were starting to allow directors to add a little visual flair to their movies.
Yeah.
Before that, it was like, no, it all has to look like gray garbage.
Yeah, most of Phase 2 just looks the same.
Yeah.
And there's some things in Phase 2 that I like, but most of it is just like, the only thing that looks any different in Phase 2 is like Guardians of the Galaxy 1.
Yeah. Which it's like, if they didn't have that nice, like, rainbow space aesthetic with that, it just probably wouldn't have sold very many tickets, honestly.
We also rewatched Captain America Civil War, which I remember loving in the theater, but that was like, I didn't know anything about comics, and I know some of the people I went with were like, that's garbage, but they also hated the Civil War comic. I think that movie's very fucking dumb now. And it's like super one-sided, and I don't really understand.
Yeah,
a lot of
the conflict is like
so just.
The main thing I like from that movie is like Black Panther.
No, I was going to say I think Black Panther's really good. I think Age of Ultron tries to set up so many things and does it really poorly. I think Civil War tries to set up just as many things, but all of the things it set ups pretty well. Just the actual story of Civil War's not great.
Yeah. Great action sequence.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. Like, I still really like the movie because it sets up so much stuff really well, and it has this fucking scene where Captain America's holding the fucking helicopter. I love that scene.
I think my favorite scene that I always think back to is like the scene where it's like Black Panther running down like the highway or whatever, and they actually like get just... It looks like a guy just in a suit running down a highway. It doesn't look like CGI, camera angles, fucking 3D model skyscrapers in the background. Like, it all looked and felt real.
That's the same scene where, like, I think Captain America and, like, a bunch of them are, like, holding onto the shield and riding it on the highway. Because, there's a lot of really cool stuff in that movie. So I can definitely forgive some of the dumb stuff. Because at the end of the day, it's a comic book movie.
Yeah.
They're all dumb.
And then I didn't much care for the villain in that movie.
I think that, like, I like...
I felt like there wasn't enough. It wasn't thoroughly cooked enough.
Yeah. Well, he shows up in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
So I watch it.
I agree with you, which is annoying because I really like fucking Daniel Bruhl, the guy who plays him. I think he's really good as the character. It's just like everything, same thing with like Doctor Strange. It's just underutilized.
Yeah.
And then that's mostly it, I think. We watched the one, and then last night we watched Last Shift, which is a horror movie.
That's the one with, like, the person with, like, the thing on their face on the poster. I've seen it for years, and I've always been like, I kind of want to check this out. I got a gut feeling.
Well, I was actually kind of shocked. I pulled up, we started it, and then I pulled it up on Letterboxd, because that's just what I do. Not necessarily, like, to see ratings, but I don't know what it is, but I'm like, I want to see who's in this, because I like, during the credits, the opening credits, I like to be like, oh, this person was in this movie, just because I'm so antsy and stuff when I start a movie, so it gets me into the movie if I can just kind of like read more about it. And I was like, whoa, this has a 2.9 on Letterboxd. I'm like, for some shitty horror movie, that's actually not too bad. It was really bad though. Like, I like the setting. It's in the sense that it's like a lot different than most. It takes place in a police station on the last night it's open. Like, it's about this rookie cop who she shows up and her first shift is to watch the police station for the final night it's open because they had opened a new one. And I'm like, that's weird. And
have you ever seen, like, Assault on Precinct 13?
I haven't. Is that the same concept though?
More or less, yeah. Like, he doesn't work there, but he's like, if I remember correctly, I watched it like a year ago or whatever. Whenever we watched The Fog, that time.
Yeah, I remember you bringing it
John Carpenter stint. But yeah, like, basically he's like, that police station's like moving locations, so then there's less people there, which prompts the gang to like go and attack the police station, which the movie's about. So yeah.
But there are some interesting ideas in it, but like the pacing's really bad, the dialogue's really bad. It has some interesting ideas, but it's like, and it's also really predictable, which is fine, but it doesn't help if everything else about it's not great. It wasn't like the worst thing I've ever seen. The ending sucked. I hated the ending. It was really dumb. It was predictable, but also just bad. Like, if it was predictable but a fine ending, it would be fine. But it was a bad predictable ending.
No, I see.
Yeah, and then I've been playing... I don't know why, but I keep playing Nier Automata. I've beaten it twice.
Can't get enough of those up-dress shots.
It's probably just because, like, it's a really easy game to play. It's kind of, like, mindless. And then there's some interesting bits of story. I like some of it. And now I'm so invested because I'm like, you can play the game multiple times. And I kept reading, oh yeah, the game gets good after the second ending. And I'm like, so I've beaten all of the side stuff that I can so far. And I've beaten the first two endings. And I'm 20 hours in and I'm like, can something be good if it's only good after 20 hours?
See, I always jump to, like, I don't know. That's a good question, because that kind of question is, like, predominant in a lot of, like, lawn running anime, like One Piece, for example. Yeah. Like, a lot of people will say it doesn't get good until, like, Enies Lobby. And it's like, I disagree. I think it's good before then. I just think it, like, steps it up once it gets to Enies Lobby. But, yeah.
And now that I'm so far in, I think I'm more than, like, I think I'm probably have another, like, 12 hours or so. Just, like, looking at how many, like, because it says a percentage of, like, how many quests I've completed in total. And I've done so much of the side stuff that I can probably just, like, through the rest of the main stuff. And now that I'm this far in, I'm just like, I'm just going to make a review for this, so I got to finish it.
Oh, I see.
Because I'm like, I'm not going to put 20 hours into a game I'm not even, like, loving without doing something with that. Yeah, so stay tuned for, like, probably, like, a month from now when I do that. And then, like, 3 people watch it because the game's 5 years old.
I don't know. I see a lot of videos for that pop up on my recommendations.
And I mean, like, there is a new... They just remade the first Nier game. And they just made a mobile game.
Oh, yeah.
I should make a review for the mobile game, too.
There you go. Then you'll really be bringing in the clicks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But that's what I've been up to. And then, yeah, just working on it, because now I have... I was originally going to be on vacation starting today. Sad.
Yeah.
But instead, I'm just taking, like, 5 days off. instead of taking my full 2 weeks. So next 5 days I'll just be doing stuff. And I have not started our book yet, which is like late for me. I'm usually reading the whole time, so I gotta get on that.
I need to start too, but this is not late for me.
Yeah.
But I'll probably have a bit harder for a time reading this one because it's all in fucking like Old English letters.
Old English letters.
So,
dearest maiden, I met a fucking vampire.
yeah, and it's like I'm very intrigued to read it because I've seen lots of adaptations of Dracula over the years. I know a lot that happens in the book already, but it'll be nice just to do like the comparison of like, oh, so this is where that scene stemmed from.
Oh, so this is Keanu Reeves.
Oh, Jonathan Harker. They should have just named him Keanu right from the get-go. But yeah, I watched some horror movies this week.
Oh yeah, you watched movies.
I did.
Did you watch Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker 2? No. Did you watch The Astro Zombies 2?
No.
But you thought about it.
I did. I looked up where I could watch them, and they were right there on Tubi.
Yeah, they're all on Tubi. Did you watch Election on Tubi?
I did. And I got extremely confused when I was looking for Election 2, and then they were both like, oh, this movie came out the same year and has the same plot description. Yeah. And I was like...
And then my Trial Election came out a year later.
I'm like, okay. But, yeah, I watched Basket Case.
Oh, is that by Larry Cohen?
No, it's by Frank Hedenlotter or whatever.
The dude who made Brain Damage. Yeah. How is Basket Case?
I liked it.
Was this your first time seeing it, or had you seen it?
I had seen like major chunks of it over the years, but this is my first time like sitting down and watching it in full. Mm-hmm. And I liked it, and I'm probably gonna give Brain Damage another shot because I know I wasn't like the hottest on that movie when we watched it.
Might have been like in a funk or just not in the. Some movies just aren't, you know.
Some movies, it's like your movie comprehension level isn't quite there yet. Like you gotta kind of like I wouldn't recommend somebody who isn't really into David Lynch probably check out Eraserhead and expect to have a fucking blast. Eraserhead, like, you need to work your way up with some, like, Blue Velvet and Mulholland Drive or something. That way, you know, you kind of get the watered down version and then you can go into the full unadulterated.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite, because, like, Basket Case is a pretty simple story, but it's still got weird, just grimy elements to it. It's really funny, but if I do recommend it to anyone, I have to slap a big old content warning on there because the movie does have a scene with sexual assault in it. In fact, it has two technically, but one of them is much more tame than the other one. But one of them is very not tame. But yeah, aside from that, I had a blast with the movie. I thought it was pretty good. Pretty fun.
Okay. Yeah, that's been on my list for a while, so I'll probably try to check that out.
I hear the sequels are even fucking crazier, so I look
Is there
forward to
3 in total?
There are.
Okay, yeah. I think I've heard... I have a friend that on Letterboxd I haven't talked to in a while, but I remember them saying I think they really, really like 2, and they don't like 3 or something like that.
Yeah, that tends... I've pretty much heard similar things from the community. And then I watched The Changeling, which is...
Oh, shit! How was it? Was it good?
It was pretty good. I feel like I was a little underwhelmed because I watched another movie right before it that was kind of somewhat similar. Because they're both haunted house movies called Burnt Offerings.
Okay.
And that one really fucking blew me out of the water. I was like, damn.
So you just watched this one as well?
Or? Yeah, I watched them both this week.
Okay. Because I've been meaning to watch The Changeling specific by Peter Madak or whatever, right? From like 1980?
Yeah, it's like the wheelchair.
Okay, yeah.
And for my entire life, I've been like, what is Scary Movie 2 parody? Because I had watched that movie a lot at a young age. I'm like, what haunted house movie is this, like, ripping inspiration from?
Isn't it The Haunting?
It clearly... It takes a lot from, like, a lot of haunted house movies.
Yeah.
Like, there's a bit of Exorcist, a bit of Amityville, a little bit of The Haunting. But I'd say, like, the main bulk of stuff from that movie maybe not the main bulk, but a decent handful of stuff that I had always been curious about, like the ball coming down the stairs and stuff like that. That's all from The Changeling.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, okay. So that's what this is from. Cool. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, so Changeling and Burnt Offerings, both pretty good.
I should make our next deep dive, the 5 scary movies. Ooh, that'd be rough.
That would be rough.
Oof. I remember we watched 3. You didn't watch 3 with us, right? Yeah, we watched it for one of the weekly film things.
Yeah.
And I remember liking 3, like, growing up, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, that was rough.
I don't think any... Because I rewatched 2 not that long ago, and it has its moments. It's kind of like Dumb and Dumber. Like, it has funny moments in it, but as a whole, it's
Dumb
just
and
like...
Dumber.
It's just, like, not quite what I remember it being.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It's really hard to go back and rewatch, like, old comedy movies that I liked when I was a kid, because most of them don't hold up.
Yeah. No, I get you.
But, yeah, so I watched those. I don't know if I watched a 4th one. I want to say I tried to, but I think I opted out to watch The Election instead. Double check, though. Yeah, I guess that was it. I didn't even log The Changeling. But, yeah. So, I watched those 3 this week.
Cool.
And more on Burnt Offerings. That one's just a haunted house movie. It's got, like, Karen Black, Oliver Reed, Betty Davis, Burgess Meredith. It's really good. And apparently, the movie inspired Stephen King to write The Shining.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, that one... It's basically just like this family gets offered to watch this old like giant Victorian house for like cheap. Like they only have to pay like $900 to watch it for the summer and take care of it. And yeah, spooky shit ensues.
Oh yeah, it's by the director of Trilogy of Terror, which I know from this really dumb poster.
Mm-hmm. And he also directed like a bunch of Dark Shadows stuff. Dan Curtis or whatever his name is. But yeah, I was super sold when I saw Oliver Reed was in the movie.
Yeah, he's really cool.
I really like him in the stuff I've seen. I found out, I never knew this, he died on the set of Gladiator because he fucking like challenged some sailors to a drinking contest and drank himself to death. So
Oliver Reed was
he was a severe alcoholic.
Yeah, he was really cool in the sense that he does not look like a leading man at all.
Yeah,
you know, and I feel like we have less people now that look like Oliver Reed starring in movies because most of our big movies are action movies.
Yeah, no, I feel that, but. I wish we had more Oliver Reed types around.
Maybe, I think we just need
maybe not as a person. I don't know much about him as a person.
Yeah.
He could, because I've heard some people say, like, I know Betty Davis didn't part because he was drunk behind the scenes a lot. I don't know if he was aggressively drunk, but
sometimes some people just don't want to be around an alcoholic, which is fair, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, so anyway.
Break your... I moved it, and I think you just froze. I did it, guys.
Of course it's when it's always when I'm in, like, my fucking neck is, like, fucking non-existent.
I think I might need to get another little thing, because this one seems to be going.
I can bring the one that I have over at my house and see if it works better next week.
But we'll be right back. And then we'll start talking about Election. Yeah. And welcome back. It's time to talk about Election. Directed by Johnny Ito. Mm-hmm. I've heard a lot about this guy before. I've heard good things. There's a bunch of movies by him that are on my watch list. I've heard he's like really, really good. And judging by Election 1 and 2, I probably would really like his movies.
Yeah.
So both of them have pretty simple plots. Like at their core, it's just, hey, the Triad is having their every 2-year election. Mm-hmm. I guess we don't. In the first movie, we don't know how often these elections happen. I don't think
they stay towards the end of the movie. Is like, well, it'll only be like 2 years.
Oh yeah, that's right. But for most of it, we don't know how long an election is good for. And it's 2 years, and they make such a huge deal about it over a 2-year thing, which I like actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're having an election, and it's the first movie. It's between a guy named, is it Big D?
Yeah, it's
Big D and Locke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was reading it as Loke the whole time, like Loki without the I.
It's Loki, guys. It's Loki.
But yeah, so basically these two are running against each other for like the chairman or whatever that.
The chairman, the Godfather.
Yeah,
they refer to it as a couple different things, or I guess. They refer to it as the chairman, but when they're the chairman, everyone calls him Godfather.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're running for this position. One of them, Locke, is kind of like, he's the honorable
family
guy.
Man. He's an honorable guy. He has lots of loyalty. He's kind to the other triad members. But Big D, he makes the money. He makes the hard decisions. And people want to vote for him specifically because he's bribing a bunch of people.
Yeah.
But, pretty early on, the election is over in, the first, 12 minutes of the movie. Or, pretty early, 20 minutes.
It's like half an hour or so, yeah.
Okay, fine.
They end up, a bunch of people end up getting arrested from the triad. And basically when that happens, Locke gets put into power. But, as a symbol of, the next chairman, they always inherit this
baton.
This baton that's part of the tradition.
It looks cool. It's a sick baton. I thought it was gonna be like a twirler. I'm like, yo, this thing's sick. Once they see it, I'm like, yo,
because they show it the first time after it was chilling in a thing of fire.
Mm-hmm.
So I genuinely thought it had melted when they first showed it, and then later they did a better close up, and I was like, oh, that's like a design. I just figured they were just like, all right, it looks like shit, but tradition's tradition.
Tradition.
But basically, yeah. So, fucking, what's his name? Big D gets real upset, kidnaps a bunch of members of the triad.
Yeah, he kidnaps, the two people that, I think that, pretty much turned on him, that said they were going to vote for him or something like that. Mm-hmm. And he locks them in these wooden crates that he rolls down the hill 8 times.
Yeah.
And then he threatens them, gives them a message, and then drops them off in the middle of town. And they're fucked up.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they weren't dead.
Yeah. And then, pretty much Big D and him just squabble the whole movie.
Locke the whole time is like, no, we should talk. Mm-hmm. And Big D's like, I will kill you. I will be the next chairman.
Yeah. And so basically then we follow just a bunch of different gang members as the baton is basically trying to get back to Locke. Because it was taken over from Hong Kong to China.
Yeah, to hide it, keep it safe. And then they go to get it. And there are people who were working for Big D, and there are people who were working for Locke, both trying to get it. And then the people that are working for Big D are actually working for another guy who is working for Big D. And he calls him up. He's like, actually, we're switching sides. And this is as the guy's beating the shit out of the guy. And he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite scene because he's like, hey, are you this guy that they're telling me about on the phone?
Yeah. There's this movie's really, really, both of these movies are extremely cruel and pessimistic films.
Yeah.
But that part was funny as hell.
Yeah, they both kind of dabble in the dark comedy realm a little bit, but
I found that I think every country I've seen do it, but I feel like a lot of Asian cinema is able to do it a little better, or at least maybe it's just because it's more of the norm there to have even in their darkest movies have a little bit of comedy here and there. I think it's just a little better than when they try to do it in America, I guess.
Yeah, I think it also helps that just the way that a lot of Asian languages are constructed, that they come off as a lot more emotive when they speak sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that can really help sell like the comedy of a scene. But yeah, I don't know.
And also these scenes aren't like, they aren't set up as a joke. They're just like humorous situations.
Mm-hmm.
Like this guy getting the shit beaten out of him. And then they both get a phone call and they both answer at the same time. They're like, hey, I need you to go help this guy. The guy that he's beating his head. Don't worry, somebody's coming to help you. The guy who's beating the shit out of him.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, cool. So funny little moments like that pop up every once in a while.
And I've said it before, but I think that these types of scenes make surrounding moments a lot more grim as well. Because it just kind of grounds it in realism. Because, like, even on, like, my shittiest days, there are things in my life that are funny or that make me smile and stuff. It's not like it's just, like, constant death and decay. It's like, oh, just saw somebody fall down. That was funny. And that reminds me that I'm saying.
Yeah, no.
I think while properly utilized, dark comedy in those scenarios can make surrounding scenes more depressing.
I had a similar thought process in a scene during this movie when they were like, basically, they just, the two parties sitting in a room talking about who they think would be the better leader, and they're getting heated like, screw you, what? Hey, tea's ready.
Yeah, and then the wise old man, tea's ready.
And they all just like get around and just like, sip their tea, and it's just like a nice kind of like wholesome moment after, just like, and it's like, they're all fucking just power hungry.
Yeah, I think that's what I like most about these movies is it's horrifying. It's terrifying to see these people. Like Big D's obviously like, the big threat of this movie, but he isn't nearly as terrifying as, like, in my opinion, Locke. No. Like, even without seeing Locke in the second movie, seeing him in this movie is much more terrifying to me. I think that people that aren't openly aggressive can be much more terrifying. And, like, that's why the main guy, the main, like, uncle, I think his name was Tang.
Yeah.
The, like, bigger guy who's, like, tea's ready. That guy, I really like that character because he's, like, wise, but he has everything unlocked. He knows all the police still. He knows everything. And that's terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think all it takes is just, like, one dime to turn and, he's ready to fucking declare war like he does against Big D, where he's like, all right, I want to hear you say it. I've heard, because, like, D at one point he's talking about starting, like, an offshoot spin-off.
He's starting his own triad, and he's like, we can't have that happen. And he's like, okay, we'll all go to... He's pretty much saying that we will murder you.
Yeah.
And that's what this movie excels so well at, like, world building, like, constructing this world of triads and, like, explaining how, like, the internal politics work in triads really well. And they do it so well in, like, 100 minutes. This movie's neither of these movies are very long. Like, this movie's an hour and 40. The next movie's even shorter. But I think it does a lot in its runtime.
Yeah, compared to, like, the Godfather movies, which are, like, 3 hours apiece. And it's just, like, they're good movies, but it's just, like... Yeah. But, like, I feel like this one was able to kind of, like, convey that same level of, like, threatening presence in a much shorter amount of time.
And at the same time, I'd never felt like this movie was rushing towards any of that. It still felt like it had a pretty even
fact,
pacing.
I felt like it was a little... I don't think it was, like, said and done once I saw the end of the movie. I didn't think it was that long-winded, but as I was watching it, there was, like, a little Return of the King moment where, like, there was, like, 3 times where I'm like, oh, the movie's over. And then I was like, oh, it's not over.
This movie, yeah, I definitely got... Because Locke becomes... And so by the end of the movie, Locke and Big D have reconciled. And they're like, yep. They all take the oath together, and they're like, yeah, we are brothers. And then you think the movie's going to kind of end. And instead, fucking Big D goes and talks to another triad leader. I can't remember the other triad's name. And he's like, hey, I want this guy dead too. But, and you're like, oh, he's going to get Locke killed. But secretly, he took the oath. He's not going to get Locke killed. And they kill this triad leader. Or, I don't know if he's the leader or just a big guy on the triad, but they kill him. And they get all the other members of that gang arrested. And then you're like, oh, cool. They have this great camaraderie. Now the movie's going to end. But no, they have to go fishing. And I knew this point was coming, but I think I think the ending of this movie is fantastic. I really, really like the ending of this movie. Locke is there with his son, and Big D is there with his wife, and they're all fishing together. And the wife and Locke's son go off because I think Denny, his son, has to pee or something like that. And Locke and Big D are talking, and Big D's like, hey, how about you make me chairman as well? And Locke's like, oh, yeah. And he's like, hey, it would work. A lot of other triads have 2 leaders, and I think we could do a lot of work with this. And he's like, oh, yeah. He's just kind of like, that could work. And then he just fucking bludgeons him to death with a rock. Mm-hmm. And as he's like doing the killing blow, he looks behind him, and the 2 have returned, and his son's just like in shock, and Big D's wife is just screaming. So of course he throws the keys down to his son. He's like, "Get to the car!" Yeah. And then he goes and just murders the Big D's wife as well.
Yeah.
And then he goes to the car, and Denny's just shaking. Which I think does set up some really good stuff for Denny in the sequel. Like that's the main thing, the main through line I like from this movie to the next.
Yeah. Also, a thing I really liked about this scene is like when he's chasing the woman down, like they're just like in this little like jungle-ish area, forest area. I don't know. There's just a bunch of like monkeys in the trees, and they're all going fucking nuts. Yeah. And it's just like a nice little like symbolic descriptor that it's like, yeah, you know, he's animalistic, you know, at this point. Simple, but I just like stuff like that.
No, I get it. And man, I really like this movie, and the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm enjoying it. Like this is like a movie that I want to rewatch because I got a lot of it, but I do understand some people were confused by this movie because there's a lot of characters, and I do understand that it's pretty dense. I think the second one's a lot more easy to watch because there's less main characters. There's not a lot of, I guess there's not a lot of main characters in this, but it jumps to other characters a lot too. Mm-hmm. But I thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Legend.
Yeah. I want to watch more stuff that Big D guy's in.
Yeah, what was his name? I know I've seen him in something.
Yeah, because he was pretty good.
And then there are other characters in this that like show up in the second one and have much more prominent roles, like Jimmy. Yeah. Jimmy has stuff in this. There are other things that happen in this movie, but the main thing was
the war between.
Yeah. Everything else is just connected to that.
Yeah.
But the guy who played Jimmy was hot. Big D. Oh, that's right. He's the main. He's one of the characters in Detective D in The Mystery of the Phantom Flame, which was a fun movie. Let's see, what else is he in? He's in Ashes of Time. That's a cool name, which is by Wong Kar-wai, the guy who did like Chungking Express. Mm-hmm. Which the only thing I've seen from it was In the Mood for Love, but that movie's fantastic.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of his films yet, but I'm very familiar.
There are just so many movies I want to watch, and then I end up watching Last Shift. Because I'm going to say it.
Did you freeze me again?
No.
Okay, good.
But I feel like if I move it back, I will. So you're just going to be on. It's fine. You're on. It's fine. It doesn't help that the cable's in my lap right now. I'm going to say it like there are a lot of movies that I don't want to watch with Pierre. Pierre will watch them, but I want him to enjoy movies in general, even though like he likes a lot of dumb stuff. So I just end up watching things that I think he'll get some enjoyment out of. He might have liked parts of Election 1 and 2.
Yeah, he probably would have.
I know that
seen here
a lot of the other Johnny Toe movies, I think, a lot of his other ones are more action oriented. Apparently, he has a lot of like gun fu stuff in his movies that's like really well executed. So I might try another Johnny Toe movie with Pierre. But like in general, I try to not have Pierre watch movies I don't think he'll like, because he can just play like Genshin Impact. He'll have more fun with that.
No, I understand.
It's the same way, like, there's a lot of movies I want to watch that I know Hinateo won't like, so I'm like, I'll just watch this on my own.
Yeah, I struggled with that the other night, because I was with Tito, and he was like, yo, you want to watch, like, you got any movies on your watch list? I'm like, I really don't know if you guys would like, because it's either avant-garde, like, shit, or it's, like, actual shit. There is no in-between.
Yeah, it's like, Funeral Parade of Roses or Puppet Master 2?
Yeah,
like that kind of...
I ended up putting on Zombievers. I was just like, maybe...
Did you watch that?
I watched, like, 5 minutes of it before Tito fell asleep, and I was like, all right, I'll go. I like the Bill Burr, John Mayer intro and outro to that movie, but the 90 minutes in between are whatever. They're dumb, for sure. But something. I don't know.
But yeah, Election. I think you'd give this one a 7?
Mm-hmm. You would give this one an 8.
Yeah, what? All right, Election 2, or Triad Election, from the next year. There's also supposed to be an Election 3 eventually.
I was gonna say it would make sense if because like if they waited like just a couple more years, they could have one that focuses on the son and maybe bring back Locke's son, because we saw that he was kind of dipping his toes into the game life a little bit. And I'm sure that situation with his father that we see in this one probably only traumatizes him.
Well, I know
even more so.
Johnny Toe has talked about how he wants to do 3. I think he originally like announced that he was working on it in like 2018, but I don't think it was necessarily like, I'm going to start making this movie right now. It's more like, yeah, I'm going to make this movie eventually. And he's still like, I think he's he's up there now. I think he's 65 years old now. He's probably, I think he was born in 55. But he's been making movies for quite a long time. His first movie was in like 80, and he's made like a movie every like 2 years or so.
Okay.
Like I was looking, I'm like, oh, he has kind of a big catalog. Because I'd only ever heard of like Election, Exiled, and Drug War. And then I looked through his catalog, and I'm like, oh wait, never mind. I've heard of a lot of these movies. Just like passing or like seeing them on my friends' feeds and stuff like that. That's what, as much... I love Letterboxd just because like I've discovered so many movies just from being like, oh, my friend watched this and they liked it. Or my friend watched this and they hated it. Gotta add it to my watch list.
Yeah.
And I found so many good movies because of that. I want to say that's how I originally found Lost City of Z. I think.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that. Like, oh, no. I think you had gone and seen...
I saw it at Astra, didn't I?
Yeah, and then you were like, we have to watch this other one.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, whatever. I still haven't seen it at Astra. I'll watch it once it hits.
It's like, I've wanted to do a James Gray deep dive before, but it's like, he has fucking...
3 movies?
No, I think he has like 5 that we could watch that we haven't seen. But, fucking... What is it? Mark Wahlberg's in like 2 of them. I'm like, I don't want to fucking watch a Mark Wahlberg movie. Yeah, there are 5 movies that I haven't seen by him. He's done, I think, 7 full-length films.
Okay.
Tim Roth's in one of them.
Hey.
Well, I like Tim Roth.
I also like Tim Roth.
Yo, Jeremy Renner's in one of them.
That is an actor who exists.
Yeah, I guess. All right, Election 2. So 2 years later, the election's coming up again, and Locke is fucking crazy now. Or at least, I think this is pretty much his whole character always, but he was not in a position of power before, so he was keeping it down low. Big D didn't care. But now that he is in a position of power, he's brutal. But people are like, well, you can't get elected again. So just hold on, we're going to get somebody else. But he's like, no, I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah. But Jimmy's going up, and...
so there's
basically...
I don't remember what the one guy's name was. There's Jimmy...
The guy that was beating the other guy in the other movie, that was him.
Yeah. There's Jimmy, there's that guy...
And I think that there's the one that he's promising the throne to.
Yeah,
Jet, I think his name was.
Yeah, Jet, the guy who had the badass machete sequence from the last movie.
Kun? Kun? But that's the guy. Pop, pop, pop. Oh yeah, that scene was really cool. That, as much as like I was saying, there isn't a lot of action in these movies. The action that was in was like, it wasn't like a spectacle, but it was nice and grounded and like believable. It was fun. Like he was beating the shit out of a bunch of guys, but it wasn't like unbelievable. Like, oh, because he got his shit rocked. He was like had a machete sticking out of him. Johnny To really likes machetes sticking out of people, like in their shoulders. He does that a lot.
Honestly, it's probably a pretty easy effect to pull off. So.
Yeah.
And it's also pretty graphic, so you're just like, oh, no.
This movie definitely ups the ante in gruesomeness.
Yeah. So basically, the main thing is Jimmy. He's like, I don't want to be a gangster anymore. I just want to run the business.
But he wants money. Capitals. He wants money so that he can get a big like mansion for him and his wife and his children.
Yep.
So that they can grow up to be lawyers and doctors.
But, oh no, policeman in China is like, no, you can't do business over here anymore.
Unless you're the chairman, pretty much.
Yeah, so he's like, fuck, I'll run for the chairman against the very power-hungry Locke.
Yeah.
And
Locke convinces, like, the two other guys not to run, pretty much.
Yeah. He's like, next term. Basically, he convinces the one to basically, like, run alongside him. Because he's like, he's fishing with the one guy, and he's like, two chairmen. And he's like, he laughs.
There's some really...
Which is the reference to the first one.
Yeah, you can see in the background there were, like, gardening tools, and he had murdered that woman with, like, a shovel. So it's like...
Yeah.
I'm like, is he just gonna do it
again? That's what I thought. But he's like, no. He's like, all right, yeah. And that might make it easier for me to keep power. Let's try it. And guy's like, But,
and he's pretty much using... Because Jet, not well. He's not
Yeah, he's like hiding because a bunch of people want him dead.
But even in the first movie, he wasn't he has some issues. He like eats a spoon to like be like, I'm crazy and look, I'm eating a spoon. He like breaks apart a spoon and just starts eating it because Big D's like, eat the spoon. He's like, okay. Big D's like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah.
But he's pretty much a hired assassin for specifically Locke. And then he like... So the whole movie, Locke's just trying to get Jimmy to leave. And Jimmy's like, nope, I'm going to run against you.
So then Locke kills the one uncle.
Yeah, Uncle Tang.
Yeah.
Who's like, no, you cannot run again. Fuck you. And he's walking his little pug. Pug came back from the first movie. I was like, yo, the pug! Dog's great actor. Yeah, he pushes him down the stairs, and then he walks up to him, drags him to the next set of stairs, and pushes him down those two, just to be sure.
Yeah. Not quite as thorough as he was with The Rock, though.
Yeah.
He was beating Big D's head for quite a while with that thing.
Well, I like to imagine, like, he still had a decent amount of respect for Tang, and like he hated Big D because he was the one running against him.
Also,
he was just like hiding that.
Because I forgot to mention this, and I'll never get a chance to bring it up again. There's this when he's burying Big D in the first one. I don't know if it's meant to imply like his body is so light that the dirt being piled on top of him is like doing it, or if it's meant to be like his body's having like post-mortem twitches, or it's meant to be like the character's not entirely dead, but he's about to be buried alive. But like whenever the dirt would land on top of him, you would see his body fucking twitch. And I think if you look at it through the meta lens, it was just the actor unable to take the dirt landing on him without like showing it.
But it's fine. It works. It's fine. Yeah.
I didn't think it was a movie. I just thought it was a funny thing that I wanted to bring up. But yeah, so he fucking throws Tang down the stairs, and then fucking Jimmy hires this fucking super aggressive guy who's like, I do shit for money.
I need more money. What was that guy's name?
I don't remember.
That guy was kind of funny.
Yeah, but basically they end up abducting a bunch of Locke's men, and they're trying to convince them to turn on him. So they like lock him up in cages with these like aggressive dogs, and then they interrogate one of them. They're like, "Are you gonna join us?" And he's like, "No." So they kill him, and then
first they just start hitting them in the hands with sledgehammers.
Yeah.
And then they kill one, and they're like, "No, this isn't enough." So Jimmy fucking chops him up and feeds him to the dog.
Yep.
And I'm like, "Oh God, Jimmy."
So then, they all are like, all right, we'll do that. So then there's a scene where Locke is trying to go get his son. He like basically shows up while his son's like about to give
because Denny's being
some money.
Pressured by a gang to pretty much join. And he shows up and.
Yeah, and then so he runs away, and then
Locke starts chasing him, and his crew shows up. And he gets in the car, and it's the crew that turned on him because they were being tortured. And then they kill him.
Yep. And
and Jimmy's like, I didn't do it.
And they're like, okay, well, I guess you're chairman now. He's like, cool. So then he goes back to China.
He's like, finally, I can do business here. He's
and then,
yes.
And then the police guy in China is like, oh, by the way, here is the baton. Locke had it. One of his guys brought it over. We got it after you were declared chairman. Also, we're tired of this shit happening like every 2 years. It's not good. I'm done with it. So we're just going to go ahead and make this like a family dynasty kind of thing. You're just going to be in charge for the rest of your life. And then when you die, it'll go to your son. And he's like, whoa. I don't fucking want that. He's like, it'll be better for Hong Kong. And I was like, oh. So then he goes back to his wife who's in like hiding. She's got like a bunch of guys looking out over her. And she's like, guess what? Good news. I'm pregnant. He's like, ah. And that's pretty much the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested to see a third one if they ever make it. Because I'm interested to see... Because clearly it's been enough time to, theoretically, if they wanted to, they could start making it, like, now. Because it's been, like, 15 years. Or, it's been, like, what? I guess 14-ish since the sequel. But, with film, you can round up a couple years.
Well, and this came out a year after. And it was 2 years later. And, like, they don't give a specific time. So they could just...
hire a kid who's a couple years older.
Yeah.
Filming. But,
or even just be like, yep. We're just going to have you... He dies and it's like, oh, you're 15. Leader of this triad.
Yep. But
something I really like in this movie is how they treat the police in this movie and the original movie. The first movie, it's kind of like just another like triad pretty much. They work in unison really. And this one, the mainland police are just like a bigger triad. They're just the bigger gang. They're just like, nope. We're actually in charge.
Yep.
I like that. This one's even more hopeless because the Locke is he's already in a position of kind of power in the first one, while it introduces Jimmy as like a rookie. Mm-hmm. But he's always like, hey, I don't really want to do this. I just want to be straight. Like I just want to do business. I just need this as an in. Mm-hmm. And this one really shows like the slope into like becoming a horrible person for like money and power. Mm-hmm. While like Locke, you can kind of see it in his eyes, like he's hiding something, he's planning something. While Jimmy, he just becomes a horrible person.
Yeah.
Then he murders people and stuff.
And then you can tell that like by the end when he realizes it was all not for nothing, but not for what he wanted.
For worse than nothing, because now he's, instead of just being in for 2 years and then being able to leave and be rich, he's now cursed his family pretty much.
Yep. So he's like, oh.
To be stuck in this life forever. And it's like, cool. Capital is
Right.
Pretty much.
And you get down to the root of it.
I probably enjoyed this movie just as much. Maybe a little more. I think this movie looked a lot nicer. There's some really cool shots in this movie. But like they both look pretty nice. Like they look fine. This one I just think looks a little nicer. I thought this one was a little easier to follow. I might enjoy the first one more on a rewatch because I understand what's going on now. But in general, I thought this movie was pretty great as well.
Yeah. I think I liked the first one more. I didn't really have a hard time following it. I was just
That's
okay. And yeah, I think I liked that one just a little more. This one felt like just kind of like a continuation, which isn't bad.
Yeah.
Pretty good for a sequel. So I was like, yeah.
Yeah,
I wish that just between the two movies there wasn't enough Big D.
I mean, he wasn't in this one. Yeah, that guy. He was pretty great. He was like a big character. He's like, he's just yelling and screaming. It was fun. It was fun to watch.
Oh yeah.
I guess there wasn't as big of a Joker style character.
No, there definitely wasn't. They were both pretty like grounded people in terms of their performances. So, but yeah, no, I liked it still. You would give this one an 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
7 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, no, overall, I'm like really excited to watch more Johnny Till movies now, though. I'm like, those are both fun, very fun. Well, fun most of the time, but also like horrifying.
Yeah, I know.
There are a lot of movies I tell my coworkers, I'm like, yeah, it's a fun time. And I'm like,
yeah,
no, it's not, but that's just how I say things.
I feel it. I do the same thing.
You ever seen Antichrist? It's a fun time.
That movie is not a fun time. Basket Case. That movie is mostly a fun time.
And it's like, ooh, icky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has a couple scenes that aren't fun.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, we did it again. Time for 109.
Yes.
Do you want to roll?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
roll.
Here you go.
Well, I simultaneously kind of book check, see if there's anything particular.
Nope.
All right.
What are we watching?
Let's watch.
The Kissing Booth 1 through 3.
Wait, they made sequels?
Yeah, the third one just came out.
Oh, jeez. Why don't we watch? I didn't pick an episode.
Suicide Squad and The Suicide Squad.
No.
Suicide Squad and Fury. Let's rewatch Fury.
I kind of want to pick this, but
The Evangelion rebuild films.
No, the last time I watched this, it spiraled me into a little fit of depression, so I don't know if I want to watch it again.
Showa?
No. I was going to say Waking Life and A Scanner Darkly, but A Scanner Darkly, like, really depressed.
Did it? Oh, I'm so sorry.
I mean, I loved the movie. I was like, that was a great movie, but then it was just a sad movie, and I felt sad afterwards. Let's watch
School of Rock.
School of Rock's not a bad one. Yeah, you know what? Let's watch School of Rock and Boyhood.
Oh, sweet!
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome! That's it. Oh.
Linklater duo. I don't know if Boyhood's even remotely tonally close to School of Rock, but...
No.
But, you know, it's Linklater, so I'll take it. And we already did the Before trilogy, so...
Let's do it again!
Do it again!
I like these mini the directors that we've covered like a couple of times, because I feel like we'll eventually cover all of their filmography. Mm-hmm. While like a director deep dive, we will probably only I want to see who we've covered the most of, because I think it's Akira Kurosawa. Probably. Because we did the deep dive and then we did
A trilogy.
Yeah. So I think we've seen like
a trilogy, but it was 3 movies.
But yeah, I think we've seen 8 of his movies, or did we only? We might have only watched 4 on our deep. It was Ron.
Yeah.
It was Seven Samurai.
We watched more
Drunken Angel.
outside of the podcast.
It was Akiru.
I
don't remember.
Yeah, because then the second one was Hidden Fortress.
And then Yojimbo and Sandro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, no, because we watched other Kurosawa movies like off the podcast, but not on. Like Throne of Blood.
Yeah, I think that's the only one we watched outside the podcast.
Yeah. But yeah.
Because oh no, we did watch 5. So we've seen 8 of his on the podcast.
Okay. What was the 5th one?
High and Low and Drunken Angel.
Yes.
High and Low was great.
That was great.
All of those movies. Akira Kurosawa was so fucking good.
He is. Man. I can't wait till number 3 when we eventually do another Kurosawa episode. It's gonna happen. He's got enough movies to where we very well could. We still have we still haven't done like Rashomon on the podcast, Throne of Blood.
I would like.
Then there's like other stuff that he does that isn't samurai based.
Rashomon, Kagemusha, Dreams, Redbeard, The Bad Sleep Well, Stray Dog. Yeah, we can go like his weird. We could do a double feature of
his propaganda.
Sanshiro Sugata.
Yeah,
which is one of his earliest works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got the early Kurosawa box set that has that and some of his like actual propaganda films.
We gotta watch Rhapsody in August. That's the one with Richard Gere in it.
Actually, propaganda films.
It's the one with Richard Gere in it.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, yeah.
Man, imagine being like one of the few Americans that was in. Wait, is Richard Gere? He's probably British. That sounds. Wait, who?
That does sound like a British name.
Where the fuck is Richard Gere from? No, he's American. Okay. Imagine being one of the few Americans who was in a Kurosawa film.
Imagine being one of the few Americans whose name is Dick Gere. All right.
Yeah, fuck. So I've only seen Boyhood once. I loved it.
I've seen it 0 times.
But that was like before I was into movies.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of saying something because that movie's long, and so I'm hoping to love it again.
A lot of people in my anti-film bro groups don't like it.
Yeah, a lot of people really hate that movie. A lot of people
don't like Lynch.
Linklater. And I'm like, why? He's he's a nice director who has a style, but he's super accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think that a lot of like anti-film bros are film bros who don't like accessible things.
Yeah, no, I'm in that group, and it's super interesting because no one can come to a consensus of what a film bro actually is. And like literally every post, there's like a comment going, wow, this post is real film bro-y. And it's just like, it's just very toxic. There, not everything in there is toxic. Like, I'm in the group because I find that I can find some pretty decent recommendations that are pretty progressive, and I like that.
Yeah.
Because I can't find that in a lot of other film groups. But there is a lot of fucking weeds I have to fucking just, like, get past in order to get to that shit in the group. But I don't interact with any posts on there at all. There are some people who are like, all right, can anybody recommend any good movie podcast that doesn't star 2 white guys? I'm like, God damn it. Drat.
Fuck!
They would probably hate our podcast anyway. We're too woke for them.
Maybe I am.
Yeah, maybe.
We got the woke person, we got the fascist! No, I'm just...
What can I say? I just think that really strong leaders set an example.
That sounds like something Pierre would say. All right, well, as always, thank you for listening or watching. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
If nobody was listening, we'd still be doing this probably because, it's good for us. We watch a lot of cool movies. Like, so many of these movies I never would have watched without this podcast.
Yeah, like I probably never, you'd be like, hey, you should watch this. And I'd be like, Yeah, one day.
Yeah, that's why we started this podcast, because we would recommend each other movies. We never watch them.
It's like, dude, I don't even watch shit on my own watch list 2/3 of the time.
Me
So
neither.
it's like
this is so great.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so glad I watched Election. Like, this was fun.
There are periods where I feel like, even though there are large chunks of time now where I don't like watch movies, I'm still actively watching movies every week, regardless, because I've always got the picks.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, even if and it helps me to get out of my depressive moods, because when I'm in depressive moods, I don't want to do anything, but as soon as I do one of the things I enjoy, it'll help me get out of that. So if I have to do something, like watch movies for the podcast, it helps me.
I've experienced both sides of the coin. There have been some things where I've been like, I just much rather watch literally anything else to boldly flee.
Well, yeah. I get that, but most of the time we watch movies that are somewhat good.
Yeah.
We don't actually watch movies that we hate most of the time. I feel like it's...
There are some benders where some weeks in a row where maybe it's like, you pick a bad thing, I'm like, whoa.
Well, fuck you, I'm gonna pick Family Guy.
That was a bag.
Yeah. But then right after that, we watched all of Subspecies, which actually wasn't the worst thing in the world.
No.
But it could have been.
It was a gamble for sure.
On a lot of the other things on that wheel probably would have been dreadful. I'm
trying to remember what else was on there. I think the Ginger Dead Man movies were on there.
I think so. Trancers was on there, which actually...
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have disliked too much. I've heard pretty good things about from the people I trust about Full Moon.
There was one genuinely good thing on there, but I don't remember what it was. I'd have to rewatch that episode leading into it, because I was like, this is the one thing that's not Full Moon, and I kind of want to watch, but I'm just taking a chance. Oh, I think it might have been... Was it that fucking... I don't know if it was... Ice Cream Truck.
Ice Cream Truck.
I don't know if it was that trilogy that's really long that I can't remember the name of.
The Human Condition?
Yeah.
Was that it?
I don't...
I think we talked about it on that podcast. I don't know if that was... I don't know. I know we've talked about it.
We'll have to watch that one of these days, too.
We say that about so many movies.
We do.
But at least we do watch things. But it's just like, imagine if we didn't have jobs and I could just watch movies and review them for a living. That'd be fucking amazing.
No, absolutely. You like...
If I could just read and watch movies and then talk about them, holy shit. Like, I actually enjoy my job, but if I could do that, holy shit. I'd watch so many movies. I'd gain so much knowledge on stupid shit, like, hey, you know that Richard Linklater ties his left shoe before his right?
Yeah.
Oh, bright light. Yeah. All right, we did it. Another successful episode. Everyone should go watch Election. Man, Tubi TV's good.
It is.
That is a good-ass streaming service. I was really afraid because there are a lot of foreign films on there that are dubbed. So I was afraid when I put on Election. I'm like, uh-oh. This is the only streaming service that has this. I really hope it's not dubbed, but it wasn't. I've noticed that there's a lot of specifically foreign action films that are dubbed, which I guess makes more sense because there are a lot of like Americans that like watching Asian people without actually having to listen to them, I guess. I don't understand.
But I just don't like reading.
That's probably...
It's always what they say. They're like, I don't read.
And I'm like,
and it's like...
I think every time I turn on a sub movie, it takes me like 3 minutes to get in the groove of having to read and like look at the screen and say, but then it's like, okay, I'm into it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I've watched a lot of subbed movies, but it's like...
Yeah, no, there definitely is like a tiny bit of like, I guess, a curve with it, but it's so small. It's like, because I remember I got into One Piece and I caught up with the dub like right during, like in the middle of Nico Robin's flashback, like right before the whole, say it part.
Swag! Save me! God,
YOLO! But yeah, anyway, so then I remember I was like, I'm just gonna wait for the dub to come out, and I would have been waiting like 5 years for the next fucking part of the batch of 13 episodes that they would have fucking done. But that night, I was like, no, I'm gonna do it, and
You did it.
I did it, and I haven't looked back since, and yeah, no, like once you get used to it, it's great.
Like, it opens your world.
Yeah.
You get to see so many other things that you probably wouldn't have.
Yeah. Like, I understand there are some people who cannot do, like, they just don't. Like, they might have a developmental disability, or they might just be bad at reading. Like, there are people that watch movies that aren't literate, which is, like, that's just a problem with our education. I just think people should
give it an earnest
But people that can do this and just kind of, like, don't want to, it's really unfortunate.
Yeah. It's like, you know...
It's like that Bong Joon-ho quote from, like, the Oscars when he's like, if you can get over this, like, half an inch barrier, a whole world opens up to you. And it's exactly right. Like, I think a big thing that, like, got me into movies was being able to, like, watch foreign films. Like, and it's what pisses me off so much about, like, going on Film Talk. People talk about, like, on TikTok, they talk about, like, exclusively, like, American-made movies. I watched, like, this is the top 10 movies from the last 10 years. Number 1 was Parasite. Everything else was an American-made movie.
Yeah.
And, like, a super mainstream one. I'm like, come on, man. Give me like, a wild card here. Mm-hmm. Throw in, like, Green Room or some shit.
Mm-hmm. And it's like...
Which is, an American movie, but it's like, Green Room.
Yeah. I'd say if you were to count up percentage-wise, I definitely primarily watch, like, American movies just because that's how it is. Yeah. But I do make an effort to watch fucking movies from other countries.
Yeah.
Other languages. But yeah.
Like, most people that watch movies, like, casually, I feel like have seen less than, like, 10 foreign films.
Yeah.
And we both have probably seen over, like, 150.
Yeah, probably something like
Which
that.
I think is, good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure.
And we're just
I need to do the part where I break away from the Asian countries and start watching some of the foreign cinema.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things that I need to work on. Like I have such a I usually only watch like French or Korean films.
Yeah,
and I'm like, no, I need to jump around because everything I've watched from other countries, like there have been some good things. Like remember when we watched, I Am Not a Witch?
Mm-hmm.
That was dope.
Yeah, no, that was great.
And there are countries that are like harder to watch their films. Like it's just harder to find them, but I should make the effort at the very least.
Yeah, because I mean, it gets easier, especially as we launch into the streaming service.
Yeah, that's like, I understand people that hate streaming services as an idea because, like, especially now, so many big companies have streaming services. It does cost probably like close to how much cable would cost, and it's annoying to pay for multiple things. But there are so many foreign films that are so much more accessible now that, like, you would not be able to find on cable, or you would find it only at like 4 a.m. on some random channel. So, like, there's such a big drawback to like being in the information era in a capitalist society, but there's so many cool things from around the world that it's so much easier to access now. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, no, I totally agree.
You win some, you lose some, but
it's true.
But yeah, go watch Election, and we'll see you guys next time on Screen Wins. Batman.